Alright, this is a video on how to adjust the Chrysler Lebaron convertible top to be more forward towards the front of the car. A lot of people are complaining that after they perform their adjustments and put a new top on, that this area right here is not closing far enough forward, and the latches are too far away from this to actually catch. Well, I'm going to explain how to get to the point where you can have them catch properly. Now, the idea isn't to make the top go forward more. The idea is to make it stay open more as it reaches its full point of a hydraulic adjustment. Now, if you'll notice back here, there's a cog, okay? This is the contraption that goes down to the cylinders. This cog controls how far this, how much this bends down and when it bends down. It doesn't control the distance, it just controls when it bends down. So what you end up with is, as I lower the top, that cog causes it to lower right then. See the gap? It's a pretty big gap. I'm going to now adjust this, and you will see what happens. Oh, lovely. I got a screwdriver that's too small. Okay, I'm taking this out. Yours may be a little bit harder to do, but anyway, pardon me as I set the camera down. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, I am going to lift up on this and turn the cog the direction that it wants to go. The important thing is to turn it the direction that it wants to go. You will see this move. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from this angle, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm turning the cog. More like not turning the cog. It's a bit stuck on my car for some reason, and I don't bring the proper things with me to do it. See if I have a little driver here that'll work. Okay, this may work. Okay. Now, I am actually turning the cog right now. Okay. Now, what I've done is I've rotated the cog this direction. Basically, the cog, when it rotates this direction, this piece here will come forward. When you have it back here, it goes backwards. It's endless. Up here is forward, back there is backwards. Now watch as I close the top, the difference in where it lands. See how now it's further down than it was? This side here I didn't adjust. This side here I did. There's less of a gap here, okay? If your convertible top is not reaching this part, then that means, if it's landing back here somewhere, that means that this here needs to be adjusted to where this is back, okay? That's going to result in the top stopping closed, this stopping up at this point. I'm going to perform that adjustment now and show you the difference. As you can see, my car is already kind of stretched out a little bit, so it reaches, but see how it's off just a little bit? I can't just do that. over here, if I pull down, I can. So here I go. I'm going to adjust this back to where it was. It helps to do this because you can always grab this component right here and just move it around wherever you want. You won't hurt it. I'm going to bring this to where the top lever moves back where I want it. Oh, almost lost the screw. I'm going to reinstall the screw now. This piece now has moved back this way. As you can see, the little shiny bit has gone back. Let's set this down again. Alright, now I am reinstalling the screw where it goes. Alright, now I'm going to activate the top. See how there's a considerable gap there now, as on both sides? Well, I'll run the top down as far as it'll go, and then presto, closes up, meets up just where it should. The hole is centered. Now if you have an extreme case, let's say this is way back here and all you can do to close it is to keep pulling forward on this. Well, there's another adjustment you can make. Right here. I don't think you can see it. There it is. For reference, here's the mechanism. Here's the bend. There's a little adjustment wheel right here. Bring it out towards you, okay? Same as in my last video. Again, what it will do is it will cause this to have a little bit more it'll cause this to have a little bit more distance from the window. You don't want too much. You don't want it to be curved, but you do want it to be pretty straight. The more distance that you add to this, when the top is at its fully closed position, and I don't mean by hand, but I mean when the motor reaches its peak, which sounds like this. Motors reach its peak. Still should be a gap. On new cars, it's not the case. They usually get the convertible top put on just right, but on the older cars, especially on one with a tight top, you'll want to have that gap, and when you pull down on it, that is what causes everything to go right. This one has an extreme case of it being proper. The gap is there, and when I pull down on it, it literally just goes right into the hole. Now, I can almost completely cheat by grabbing this, pulling down, and closing. Grab this, pull down, and close. That, I can't explain it any more than that. Those are your adjustments. You won't really get much out of this except for if I have any recommendation, if you can see how mine's adjusted, it is down, I guess you could say downwards. If you adjust it upwards, your top will close all the way. It will, with the motor, it will go thunk and shut, but it will not have that forward travel. You gain that forward travel by putting the entire thing in a bind. And the reason you put it in a bind, stop talking to the nothing. The reason that you put your top in a bind is because you want it to be nice and tight. You don't want to have old saggy looking. And what you end up with when your top is in a bind is a nice tight everything. That's the whole purpose of that whole entire mechanism right there, is to keep everything nice and tight when it's shut, and to also extend forward far enough to have the rubber piece engage this molding. Now if you notice, I've got about 1 inch here. I would like to have more, but I don't need it. I do experience in the center here at high speeds, for lack of a better term, convertible top inflation, and it lifts away from the dash, or lifts away from this top ridge here. I plan on fixing that by using a piece of soft 3/8 vacuum hose. There's a nice place to run it through the center of that piece of weather stripping there, and that should seal up the gap. But that should answer all the questions about how to get your convertible top to reach more forward towards the front of the car versus trying to move the adjusters, because it's counterintuitive. You want to make it seem like it's further away, but you gain when you do the yanking down part. So great, hopefully this has been helpful, and this has been Car Comp on another video on how to adjust your convertible top on your Lebaron and other things that have to do with cars. Oh, side note, a friend of mine brought their car over the other day. Wouldn't start. Somebody put water in their tank. Now you would think that it would take gallons of water, but really it was only maybe a half gallon, a couple liters, maybe the amount of water that would fit in a Mountain Dew bottle that you'd go to the 7-Eleven and buy. Basically water sinks, and that was just enough to be sucked up in the fuel pump. So if you ever have a car you suspect there to be water in the tank, drain off about a gallon's worth of the gas, try it again, drain off another gallon, try it again. There's no reason to drain out the entire tank, because the water seeps to the bottom. It'll be the first to get pumped out. Bug. Alright, later.